on Ice presents Frozen and Encanto. In one exciting family experience, live in your hometown. Celebrate the power of love, y familia, in the show everyone will be talking about. Coming to Casey Center November 27th through 30th. Tickets on sale now. Visit DisneyOnIce.com today.
Chad Leistikow, Scott Dochterman, the two biggest Hawkeye and Big Ten beat writers, together on one show. GameDay Men's Health proudly presents Legends and Listeners, best enjoyed with an easy Eddie from Big Grove Brewery. This is Legends and Listeners, exclusively on Iowa Everywhere.
Hey, Hawkeye fans, Big Ten fans, and Iowans everywhere. It is Legends and Listeners on this Thursday morning, back home on Thursday. Chad Leistikow of the Des Moines Register here, along with Scott Dochterman of The Athletic, presented as always by GameDay Men's Health. We appreciate GameDay so much. Got a fun addition to add to GameDay later in the show, but I'll let you guys wait for that. We are in the Channel Seed Studios, as always, Scott, and coming at you on an Iowa football bye week, and tons to discuss as we get going. Of course, where we'll talk about that Iowa-Indiana game. We'll talk about wow, what a game between Oregon and Penn State. You and I were watching the last moments of that in the press box this past Saturday. There's some Big Ten news kind of floating out there. We'll get you to kind of straighten us out on what we need to know there. But first off, Scott, women's basketball is going to lead our show here on the second day of October, because the Iowa women's basketball program has definitely made a splash. Number 6 recruit in the country, McKenna Woliczko, is going to be a Hawkeye. And what's so significant about this, Scott, is no previous Iowa ties, lives in San Bruno, California, and wanted to be a Hawkeye and is going to be a Hawkeye. She's the number 1 wing in the country, according to ESPN. Holy moly, what a big play for Jan Jensen here.
Iowa's rolling when it comes to women's basketball, and this was the big one. Addie Deal was a big one last year, and McKenna Woliczko is the next one in line, and there's a lot of momentum, and we wondered a little bit, could they maintain it after Caitlin Clark? Could they maintain it after Lisa Bluter? And they certainly have. And as important and as impactful as as Caitlin was, I mean, this is different when you're getting a top 6 recruit nationally, a 5-star from the state of California, and she picks Iowa over South Carolina and over USC and over Ohio State. It shows you that there's a lot of momentum there. And then we find out today that the Iowa women's basketball team's program for the 3rd straight year has sold out every ticket. So I think that the momentum is really burning with this program in a good way. And there's a lot of positivity. And somebody like her and Addie Deal playing together, that is a heck of a combination for the future.
Yeah, and there could be another Addison potentially coming along the way. She's really pushing for her friend, all Iowa attack player Addison Bjorn out of Kansas City. That's one of the things she talked about today in her Zoom call, and that their family's being very active in terms of trying to get Bjorn to come aboard. Bjorn was in Iowa City this past weekend for the get out of here, fly. I'm like Ferentz up here. You know how that one fly is always following Ferentz at those press conferences? I got a fly following me here.
Yeah.
She was at the Addison Bjorn was at the Iowa-Indiana game this past weekend. She's the number 9 recruit in the country, kind of a combo type guard. And then Jenica Lewis, the girl from Johnston, number 22 in the country in the 247 Sports Composite, also heavily interested in Iowa. That would be the holy trinity here for Jan Jensen, but she's got the first big one here, Scott. And I think to me it just answers the question, can something after Caitlin be sustained? I mean, we've seen it, and I wrote this in my live column on Wednesday. all the credit in the world to Jan Jensen and her staff and everything, but also I think credit is also due to the Iowa fans. I mean, for continuing the momentum post Caitlin. They showed it wasn't just a Caitlin thing by now selling out season tickets for the third straight year. And she felt that love from fans from the moment she got interested in Iowa.
Yeah, then that's a big thing. I mean, players want to play in big environments and in big important games. I mean, if you're number 6 in the country, you want to go somewhere where you feel like you can win a Final Four and where they really respect you. And it's obvious that the University of Iowa, this is the third straight year, and really, going back a couple of years before that, it was really close to being sold out for the season too. So it's now part of the culture that Iowa has, and it's sustained itself, and that's again, that's really important. And there's a lot of people to thank if you're Iowa in this situation. I think Caitlin, of course, is the messiah of this whole genre, but I think Lucy Olson has a lot to play in this too, because she picked Iowa after that. She was willing to step into that role. She played well enough later to help elevate Iowa into having a really good post Caitlin Clark year. And by doing that, and so they didn't go 14-19, and instead they got to the tournament. They won a game there, had a really good, solid month and a half to end the season. I think in a lot of ways that she paved the way for the players that are here. I mean, Addie Deal was already signed, but also now for Woliczko. Because I think this McKenna Woliczko, because I think this is just Woliczko. Gosh, we were talking about the boxer, and then I got screwed up. Sorry. Well, maybe she'll be a scrapper on the boards too. Yeah. But anyway,
go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt, but just want to correct the record there.
There you go.
Stickler for accuracy, but
Woliczko. So
yeah, so the roster looks to be shaping up really nicely. I mean, I'm really high on Layla Hayes, 6'5" post from Alaska, and throw her with Ava Hayden inside. You got Addie Deal. You can have Woliczko, 2026, 2027. I mean, she's an instant impact starter. I mean, she's going to probably play the 3 or the 4, maybe both. Yeah. Just kind of talking to her family. She's very much a what does the team need type of thing, but she does want to develop into a WNBA wing at 6'2". So, she's got 4 years to do that. 4 years to, and that's the other thing. She, trusted the coaching staff. I mean, if you're that good of a player and you choose Jan Jensen and Lysandra Barrett and Abby Stamp and everyone else over Dawn Staley and her staff, that says something. So, really nice win for the Hawkeyes. And don't forget, girls like Emily Rodriguez. I mean, we don't know what she's going to become. Right. That was a really nice transfer get for Iowa. We'll see what she becomes by the 2026-2027 season. She's just a sophomore this year. And, Chit Chat Wright and, Taylor Stremlow, Tegan Mulaney, all these girls that are, coming back just for their second years at Iowa. This is this roster is definitely building in the right direction. If they could get Bjorn and Lewis on top of that, holy moly, they're going to be rolling.
Yeah, there's definitely a bright future in basketball. I think both ways, men's and women's. I think the men are going to be one of the best teams in the Big Ten this year, and the women are certainly shaping up there too. So it's interesting. That women's basketball is kind of commanding the spotlight today. Yesterday, my colleague CJ Moore put together his Big Ten preview, and I think he has Iowa 4th in the Big Ten.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that because Tyler Tashman, I submitted my ballot for the Big Ten poll, and I put Iowa 6th, and he's like, oh my God, that's so high. And I was like, really? I feel like Iowa's going to, I'm not going to say they're going to go crazy this year, but I feel like they're going to be right in the mix with these guys. Anyway, good to hear.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt, but that just shocked me.
Yeah, I think it's a team that's got a lot of pieces. I think Fugaris could be as good as just about any pick and pop 3/4 in the league, and then Bennett Sturtz is probably right there with Braden Smith as the best point guard in the country. And you've got a relentless coach who is a perfectionist, and you're going to see defense for a change. And that's something to be excited about. So I think this is all together, this could shape up as a really exciting winter for Iowa. I think women, there's obviously interest and momentum there. I think the men's will pick up. It may take a little bit of time, but it definitely should, because I think right now he is, he's picked things up. But I think one of the coolest things, Chad, today was the video. Yeah, that really when she committed. I mean, Jan Jensen was. I hadn't seen that yet. It was really cool.
Oh, okay. Hey, how are you? What? Yeah, we have number 20. We have number, yes. Oh my gosh. With the children. We are so excited. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. We were just talking about it in the circle. That was totally by surprise. Congratulations. And these guys, they all had moments like you're feeling right now, and they are amazing people. I am so grateful to be your future coach. Staff is so grateful. Our team, you feel like you're part of us already. So enjoy this time. Oh my gosh, we're gonna do this photo shoot, and we can't wait for the next one when you're in. Oh my gosh, so great. Love you. Bye.
That's pretty. Yeah, that was pretty powerful.
Yeah,
and that was kind of the biggest thing for her family that sold her was that culture, that family vibe that Iowa is very much known for, Scott. And I think it's cool that it came through. In a big, a really high ticket player that it really came through. I mean, Caitlin, awesome commitment. Legendary player, no one will ever top her. Yeah. But she was down the street in West Des Moines. This is from Archbishop Midi High School in San Jose, California, that I was getting a commitment from. And so, pretty cool day to be a Hawkeye basketball fan.
Yeah, for sure. And those are great moments. I mean, I think any time. I mean, it doesn't even matter if you're an athlete, but when you pick a school and commit, decide I'm going to go to that school, it's an important moment for yourself as a person. But then I think for the University of Iowa program, and there are very few programs of any sport that really positions itself better in the public spotlight than Iowa women's basketball. To have these types of videos and the way they do things, and they really shed a positive face and put, they're kind of like the NFL films of women's college basketball, because they put them in such a good light. And I think it draws people in, because when you see that, the reaction is so genuine and organic, and I think it makes people feel good, and it's exciting. So yeah, kudos to Jan and the staff for locking up a really, really good player.
And depending how poorly this football season goes, Iowa fans might want to turn their attention to the winter sports, but we're not there yet, Scott. The Iowa football team drops its record to 3-2 with yet another tough loss to a top 15 team. That's two of those now where they've had a chance, definitely a chance in the fourth quarter and a tie score. Iowa, in fact, led this game briefly in the fourth quarter against Indiana, but lose 20-15 with that odd safety at the end. But oh man, I haven't really had much of a chance to talk to you about this game, and we're not going to relive the game too much here, Scott. But holy moly, talking to Tim Lester on Tuesday, and it was the main topic of my post game column was, Iowa threw this game away. All you had to do was complete a screen pass and get the first down, and they literally threw it. It was a backup quarterback. You can't be too hard on the guy, but they had it. Lester even said it was the perfect play call for the situation. They had two blockers coming out there. You could argue if Moulton makes the guy miss, but the way Iowa had it drew up, they felt really good that it was probably going to be a touchdown. No, I would have said, slide down at the 2-yard line and don't score. I don't know if they talked all that through, but all you had to do was get a first down, then center the kick, and Drew Stevens would have made, a 28-yard chip shot straight down the middle. He missed the 42-yarder from the hash. So be it, but they had the win in their hands and lost it.
Well, I think where this was lost is something that's very rare for Iowa, and that's fundamentals. The fundamental of throwing a screen pass is not going backwards and throwing off your right foot when you're a right-handed quarterback. That was really sloppy by Hank Brown. He needed to. You don't necessarily need to step and throw if you're throwing it like that, but they caught them in the exact perfect defense that you want to throw a screen pass to. They had two of their top blockers out in front going against a weak side linebacker. I mean, that was, now he kind of moved around, but if he throws the ball where it needs to be and Kamari Moulton takes one step inside, at minimum, they get a first down inside the 2-minute warning. No timeouts left for Indiana. Then you just center the kick. You win the game because they're going to say score touchdowns. So we get their offense back on the field. And you say no. When Lester said that we could have scored a touchdown, I'm like, you really don't want to do that against this team because we just saw why. But the fundamental part of it was there were 4 plays in that sequence from there to the game losing touchdown that were Iowa blew it. And that was one. That was a bad pass. And that was a pass that I'm sure, they're a competitor that he probably didn't sleep that night, thinking about, man, I can't believe that happened. 2, you're on the left hash mark. Make sure the laces line up center to center right. So, because it fears you. It's like, a slice, in golf. And so the laces have weight to them. They have extra inch there. It carries to the left. So, everybody's going to look at, I can't believe the kicker missed it. Well, if the holder would have shifted the laces, it would have straightened out. 3, the play before the touchdown, there was a really nice blitz by Xavier Wampa, and he approached Fernando Mendoza, but he didn't reach out to grab at the ball, affect the pass that might have created a turnover, a sack, something different. It was like he ran there and he stopped, and I'm like, what? What are you doing here? Now, it was an incompletion, no harm, no foul, but it still brought a question to my mind. And then finally, the all-out blitz, the cover zero blitz on the touchdown pass, Elijah Surratt understood the best way to, he could see everything going, and he's a veteran receiver. He's an NFL guy. Okay, speed my route up and then cut it short and kind of accelerate it. Deshaun Lee played off, which you want him to against Elijah Surratt, but he also needed to break on the ball faster. Had he broken on the ball faster, it would have probably been a 7-yard reception. He would have been down at the 42, maybe the 41 if he would have put him down there. It's 4th and 2, 4th and 3. They're making a decision at that point, probably go for it. But those plays are anti-Iowa, along with a lot of missed tackles, which are very uncharacteristic. Right. And among the missed tackles, Chad, that I saw, and I'm sure you did on your DVR review, and tell me if you see something differently, is 1 is hitting without wrapping, and 2 is not dissecting the play quick enough. And when you're not quick enough as a person and you don't dissect it quick enough, you're a step too late, you're reaching and you're missing. And I saw that repeatedly, from linebackers, and hitting without wrapping from safeties. So those things that's fundamental, and that's anti-Iowa. And when you're in a game like this, in the margins, when you need a tee shot, this is the area to really get one. And that's what I saw.
Yeah, that's why it is kind of a deflating loss for the Hawkeyes, because honestly they did it they did everything they did everything right, or most everything right, leading up to that moment, and those moments, as you articulated. And so that's what makes it tough, and that fourth quarter changes the trajectory of this season, because not only did you lose the game, but you lost your quarterback. Mark Gronowski got hurt to start that fourth quarter. And Scott, we do not know what the situation with his health is. But before we get to that, I do want to mention another aspect of health, which is GameDay Men's Health, yes, our presenting sponsor. It has been a pleasure to be a part, have them be a part of our show. And I am two things. I was so busy on Wednesday that I had to call and say, can I come in tomorrow? And thankfully, the West Des Moines office now is open Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Normally, I would have to go to Ankeny on Thursday, Friday, but now business is booming, so they've got more staff available to handle that on Thursdays as well. So quick and easy. I mean, it was like a 2-minute phone, not even a 2-minute phone call. Moved it. Their customer service is tremendous. It's ease of everything is just quick, easy. Gives you that testosterone boost. Testosterone replacement therapy is their bailiwick, so to speak, and that's what I'm relying on these days, using these days. Just been a tremendous boost to my mood, my energy, my whole life, really. And also pleased to mention now that they have offices in Ankeny, North Liberty, West Des Moines, and now Naperville, Illinois, folks. Naperville, Illinois. Okay. Same folks that sponsor our show or have a branch in that suburb. We know there are a lot of Chicago area listeners in our audience. Hawk fans are all over the Chicago area, especially in the western suburbs, the northwest suburbs. And so Naperville, Illinois, we can get you, if you're listening out there, get hooked up with GameDay Men's Health. So give them a call, like I said, or go at the website. Yeah, it is 2025 after all. GameDayMen'sHealth.com, Scotty.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're driving there on 88, listening to this podcast, just, if you're going to Aurora, stop in Naperville. If you're driving in the western suburbs, you're coming from O'Hare, all right, take that extra, 10 maybe 30 minutes, depending on time of day, and go out to Naperville. What a great thing it's done for me, what it's done for you, Chad. You're able to run half marathons. I'm able to not run half marathons, but be feel pretty good about myself physically for the first time in decades, it seems like. Awesome. So what a great opportunity for you to get in better shape, feel better, look better, and get your swag back. So there you go. I think this is a good time for GameDay Men's Health, and I think when we kind of segue this over back to Mark Gronowski and his health on game day in a week and a half going to Wisconsin, Chad, what do we think here? I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to play at Wisconsin. I think sounds sprained knee-ish, sprained knee ligaments, which could be 2 to 4 weeks kind of an injury. What are you hearing and thinking on this? Yeah.
Okay. So just officially, the word is it's cloudy. They're not sure. If you missed it, it was the last question for Tim Lester. I mean, he had already been asked about it a couple times, and I finally I just said, could he play against Wisconsin, basically? And he said, I hope so. I think there's a chance. And then I go, okay, so it's not season ending. And then he didn't say anything. He just knocked on wood. So it tells me, Scott, those reactions and basically what I've heard optimistic things behind the scenes, like it's not as bad as they feared, but it also tells me that there's some, he said he's rehabbing. So it tells me there's some decision-making going on about what to do here, because it is probably one of those things. This is me speculating. Okay. This is not inside info other than, that I feel somewhat encouraged about the prognosis, but I think it's probably, do you brace him up and let him go and be limited, or do you give him the rest maybe that he needs to be at a higher level potentially in, like you said, 2 to 4 weeks? Iowa has 3 games coming up and then another bye. So if he needs 6 weeks, he could get 6 weeks by missing 3 games. Now, the competitor, Mark Gronowski, is not going to want to miss the Penn State game in a couple weeks. So if he sat the Wisconsin game, let's say, theoretically, Scott, and again, Kirk Ferentz may come out Tuesday and say he's out for the year, or he may say he's starting to Saturday, okay? But we are talking on Thursday here on the bye week, and these are the conversations they're probably having. Do we start him hobbled against Wisconsin, or do we keep him out and go try to win this game with Hank Brown and Jeremy Heklinski? And they're working Hank Brown and Jeremy Heklinski this week like crazy. This would normally be Devo reps all week for all the guys, but Lester has made it hey, sorry, Jimmy Sullivan and Ryan Fitzgerald and Jackson Stratton, you're not going to get reps this week because we need these two guys to get all the reps.
Yeah, and that's the right path. First of all, you want to accelerate their development anyway for the future if you can. But more than anything, you got to make sure one of them is ready to go to Camp Randall. And while Wisconsin has clearly struggled this year and they look really in a rough spot, they're also going to be circling the Iowa game, which they have. It's their homecoming. It's their, the 42 push-ups were for one team in the offseason. It's a night game at Camp Randall, their homecoming, and they're probably looking at it going, this is one of our chances to get, at least if nothing else, we can get the trophy. We can beat a rival. We can get our respect back from last year. And so Iowa also needs to prepare for that. As much as we maybe want to overlook Wisconsin, which is just unconscionable for me to say over the last 20 years. But, Iowa is a better team than Wisconsin, but better teams sometimes lose, and I think you don't want to risk that if you can. Now, Gronowski being he came here for a reason, and he's almost halfway through that reason. And I'm sure he's going to want to get on the field as best as he can to show himself. And even if it's against Wisconsin, it's still a night game in the Big Ten, and a great atmosphere, and you want to experience that, and he needs to if he has a career aspirations beyond the Big Ten. So I think you try to get him ready to play. He's the starter, but if he can't play effectively, if that limits him, if his knee, and I'll say this, I am speculating, semi-informed speculation, and I don't know for a fact, but if it's a sprained ligament, let's say, in his knee, which means it's good news as opposed to a torn one, then you look at it and go, okay, can he be ready? If he can't, and he's a runner, then we got to get the other guy ready and roll with that. And is the other guy Hank Brown? It is right now. But I'm curious about Hecklinski a little bit. He's Drew Tate-ish is kind of what everybody's been saying. So, but Hank Brown deserves the shot if that's the case.
Yeah, these are fascinating conversations because you also wonder, Gronowski's side of this too. He's, how badly does he want to play? What is he like? Does he want to be? Is it better for him to be like quite a bit better by the time November comes around and have those 4 games and then the bowl game to be somewhat healthy? Or is it kind of like, remember CJ Beathard in 2015? They threw him back out there with, they weren't going to put Tyler Wiegers out there. And, he played at Northwestern and they won 40-10. Yeah. He didn't do much. He didn't do much with his legs the rest of the year, except at Indiana.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Here... The other thing with Gronowski is I do have encouragement based on the way he played against Indiana that he could be okay as a pocket passer. Like he threw his short passing game was really on point. There's one short arm throw to Gill. I think it was Gill. And but yeah, he was 19 of 25 with like a couple drops in there. And so he was very accurate and he helped them move the sticks on third down. So he doesn't have to run, but you would certainly like to have him be able to run come November. So it's a tough, if it is that type of situation, it is a tough call. Thoughts?
I think for this situation, you lean on the doctors. What do they say? And then you leave it up to your quarterback. He's a veteran. He's been around. He's torn his ACL before. He's played with a shoulder that needed surgery. He's here for a reason. Let him make that call. If the doctors say, look, he can't hurt himself anymore, and then Kirk says, okay, can he run? Well, he can run. It's going to be painful, and he's probably going to need a brace to run with. But we think the knee is stable. It's going to be about pain and just. He's probably not going to be as fast as he wants to be. Well, okay, how does this impact our offense versus their defense? And then you go to Tim Lester. Well, we'll probably cut some of the the RPO and QB run portion of this down to a minimum. Basically, if he's in a scramble, do it, but otherwise we're not going to do that. Okay, does that impact our game against Wisconsin? Well, not really. We're still going to do what we set out to do. Okay, Mark, can you handle it? And if he says yes, and most quarterbacks will say that, but
he would. I mean, he wouldn't.
I mean, other than, the previous starter wouldn't, but he did, and so, but he would definitely play. So I would expect that to be the case. Now, if he's like, yeah, this is cut and dry, this is a little choppy here, this is, I can't hardly jog, then you don't go. So, but he's a tough guy. He represents the position well, and I don't know, Chad. I've grown to respect him very quickly.
Yes.
The first game was like, ugh, what are we doing here? The first quarter, I'm like, oh no, not again. But really, how he played at Rutgers, how he played against Indiana. He didn't get the last drive going against Iowa State, but other than that, he played okay. I think he's been a pretty good quarterback for Iowa.
I agree. No question. His last 3 games to me have been very, very good. And he was on the ascent. Someone texted me that was the real mark the other day against Indiana. He played, the deflected interception, unfortunate early in the game, but other than that, really had a fine game and it's just a shame, and that's the other part of it. Like, it's a shame that he didn't get to lead those last 9 minutes and 47 seconds because even though Indiana came down and tied it up, then it was Hank Brown for 3 possessions, and one was an interception, one was a missed screen, and one was the last gasp. So not much to it. But I will say this about Tim Lester, Scott, and I do want to give him some credit here. He got Jackson Stratton ready for Maryland on the road last year. I'm not saying Jackson Stratton played a lights out game or anything like that, but that was a walk-on that he got ready for a road game in the Big Ten. It's not going to be anything like Wisconsin, of course. No. But he didn't have 2 weeks for that either, this right? I don't think.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And so he's got 2 weeks here to prepare Hank Brown. If it is Hank Brown, let's say. I would expect Hank Brown, because he said he was pushing Gronowski in fall camp. I mean, and they were very impressed with him in the spring. We were both pretty impressed with him, I think, Kids Day and spring game.
Yeah.
And give him 2 weeks, give him the start, give him a game, Hank Brown game plan. I like Tim Lester in that case. So it doesn't scare me that much to have Hank Brown start that game if you had to. That's all I'm saying. I'm not soured on Hank Brown because he missed the screen pass. I think he will be more prepared if it is him. But they're very intrigued in Heklinski too. So it'd be fun to, as I wrote in a story that published Thursday morning, long piece for Sunday's paper, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if you have to see these guys for a couple weeks for the future of Iowa football, because you need to know if you have a quarterback for 2026. So
yeah, big picture, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, big picture.
That's where these two things collide, which is 225 to 2026, and in some ways, it's there's no wrong answer, because if you get your starting quarterback back, that's a good thing. If you have to develop expedite the development of these quarterbacks, that's also a good thing. And in some ways, it reminds me a little bit of 2009 when Rick Stanzi went out against Northwestern.
Sure.
That James Vandenberg came in and could not have had a worse game. I mean, he was, and you feel for him, and how they lost is just mind-boggling to me. But he was 9-27. He was bad. And then, by the way, next week you're going to play a winner-take-all, the last winner-take-all game for Big Ten history without divisional play at Ohio State. Good luck, Iowa.
Right.
And he played really well. He had 2 touchdowns. He, passes in the fourth quarter. They were down 2 touchdowns. He brought them back. He played, really well. Now, the only person that's still around is Kirk from that. But I think Tim Lester, the way, as you mentioned, with Jackson Stratton last year, that's tough. I mean, he was QB number 5 basically, and going into that week, they thought they were going to have Cade back, but he couldn't go, and so then they brought him in, and he didn't have any help from Cade, to help him strategize for that week. Luckily, he had Brendan Sullivan was still around, but you had so I think Tim's going to get him right, and I am impressed with him. And coming in at the time that he did was a tall task. That is a good team. Indiana is outstanding, and I watched him unload a blitzkrieg all over in Illinois. But I might have been more impressed with them against Iowa, because we know what this environment's like, and we know the type of game that they played. That's a tough time for somebody to win, and they had to win and engineer victory, and that's not easy. So for him to have to come in that moment, and he limited, and I'm not going to say he had a good game. He didn't, but I will say that those circumstances are awfully challenging for somebody who's not in his chair. But I think the best we can all do, Chad, is head over to Big Grove, and next week and watch the night game at one of their awesome locations in Cedar Rapids, right down there downtown. It's awesome spot. Iowa City and South Iowa City, it's huge. There's a great tap room, food there. Des Moines, it's beautiful, and the OG in Solon. Go there for the tap rooms. It sounds like it'll be perfect weather for an Easy Eddie. Citrus Surfer. We're in Oktoberfest season. Or if you want to celebrate the 1939 team and Niall Kinnick, go with my favorite, the 1939. So, and then you want a crisp Pilsner, the neighborhood beer is always your best bet. So I love Big Grove. Ran into somebody on Wednesday night when I was in Dubuque that works for Big Grove in the Cedar Rapids area. It was great. So we had a nice conversation there in Dubuque. And so Big Grove, what a great place to be. Growing rapidly. All these beers are available in cans if you want to just get them at the store, or definitely check out the Vibe in one of those 4 locations.
Absolutely. Also want to let our listeners know that Brandon Lake is bringing his King of Hearts tour to Des Moines on October 9th at the Casey Center. Enter to win a pair of tickets at iowaeverywhere.com. The contest runs through Sunday, October 5th, so this weekend, so hurry. We will announce the winners live on 2 Guys on Monday, October 6th. Brandon Lake coming to the Casey Center. Any more Hawkeye football stuff? I mean, I do want to get to the Big Ten thing here. We'll preview Wisconsin next week. We'll know the quarterback situation next week. I think here, let's bring this up, okay, Scott, because you brought up the linebackers before. Okay, so I got the last question with Phil Parker on Tuesday, and I was glad I got in again, because I wanted to ask about Cam Buffington, Preston Reese, and Derek Weiskopf, because this has been something we've been talking about all summer. And we said the Indiana game is going to be the push come to shove game for those linebackers. Okay, you said that. That. Mm-hmm. And so now, I mean, these guys aren't even on the depth chart. I totally realized that. But I asked him. I said, "We know these guys are coming. I know you guys are really high on them. What is it?" Basically, is it outlandish to think that they could play linebacker for you this year, those 3 guys? And he did not rule it out. Mm-hmm. In fact, he said maybe we'll see them for a series or 2. These are guys not on the depth chart. I love that answer, number one. He also said the other guys are a little bit ahead of them right now, a little bit ahead of them. Yeah. Okay, because their knowledge in the system. But reading between the lines, Scott, you know what he's saying. Yeah. These guys are better. These guys are younger, and these guys are like 5-star small-town Iowa kids if they were really rated properly, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, man, what do you do if you're Seth Wallace? They would never take a 3rd-string guy and start him, would they? They're not going to start him. I know they won't, but, man, it's got to be tempting, though.
There's some interesting thoughts here because, first of all, Jaden Harrell's health is in question, and he may not play for a couple of weeks either. And so, what they did the other day was they inserted Jaden Montgomery. They had to. He knows the position well. Well, now that they have a week and a half off, there's an idea circulating that possibly may happen is Carson Shire is going to shift to the Mike, and Jackson Rexroth will shift into Will, and going forward. And that's probably the smart move now. But Rexroth's been their most consistent of the linebackers. Maybe his ceiling is much lower than theirs, but I would say, as far as, Shire has a lot of ability and still, kind of overruns plays, and he needs to really settle in and become the player that he's capable of being. And then Harrell sometimes is a step slow and, gets caught in the wash. And so I don't know. I'm really intrigued, obviously, by all three of them. And Preston Reese might be the fastest player on the defense, and maybe Caden Weegan may be the only one who's faster, from what I've heard. And his explosiveness is off the charts, and we see his tenacity. He's Josie Jewell, but maybe a little bit bigger, And so you want to, yeah, definitely faster, no question about that.
That's just crazy.
So
crazy to think about.
If you could get that guy on your team, and the way he hits. But I don't want to take anything away from Buffington and Weiskopf, because they are athletic marvels too. So it's kind of like this. They're trying to get through mentally, because that's an important part of this game for them. But it's got to be tempting for Seth to just say, and that's probably why Phil said that. Hey, let's see what they got, in a couple of series, a game, and you can throw them out there, because next year you're going to have to go through this again. And do you have, Van Kekerix, who's a tremendous special teamer? He may be special teamer All-American, but is he starting Will Backer, and then Jane Montgomery, who's a fantastic special teamer too? Or is he a starter? But that's next year's issue.
Yeah.
We'll worry about that next year. But
we'll be fascinated to see what they do there. Buffington, as I've told you guys before, has been training at middle, so he's the Mike of the future. Those other guys probably Week and Leo, one or the other. So fascinating to watch. When I talked to Buffington on media day, he was mainly just working the mic, because he's trying to learn. You got to be really smart at that position. And he's built similarly to Jack Campbell, I would say. Not quite as big, but he's still pretty big. He's a big guy. And, man, I have to think that those guys are in the running for next year's linebacker spot. So, it's got to be tempting. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
What else? What else on football? Man, they're blitzing a lot, aren't they? My God.
Yes, they are.
Phil Parker blitzed this much in my life.
It shows
Seriously.
No, you're right. It shows that he does have some faith on the back end. And, a couple of guys who have actually really impressed me, Chad, and out of it, because you wouldn't blitz if you didn't have some faith in some of your players. TJ Hall is playing like the level that we've talked about that a lot of DBs take, which is they go from being a guy to a pretty good player to boom, all Big Ten caliber player. He's playing like that to me. TJ Hall, he's laying the wood. He's doing some fantastic coverage. And I was really interested in somebody's question to Phil about the lack of turnovers. And among the things that, because they're playing more man press and blitzing more, they don't have eyes on the quarterback, which is why they're not getting as many turnovers. So you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, to use a normism. And that's kind of what they're doing there. And, but yeah, they're blitzing a lot. They're getting home. And for the first time all season, Fernando Mendoza was flustered a little bit. And after the game, Kurt Signetti said, we put some bad film out there. He goes, we'd rather, and I asked him, I said, is this good for you guys to have a tough game on the road to kind of learn how to win? He's like, well, no, actually, he'd rather blow them out, because we put a lot of film that people are going to see out there. But he goes, but that respect our opponent. Our opponent was really good. And he didn't really say the same thing against Illinois, I can tell you that. So,
no, he did not. I listened.
He had no problem throwing some gas on that fire. So, big picture, Chad, I do want to talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
That they're 3-2. You are what your record says you are.
Yep. That's
tough, because they're 8 points from beating two teams that won 11 games last year that are ranked in the top 15. And one is ranked in the top 10. that's tough because they're right there with them. But the rest of their schedule is not exactly, you're not playing Big Ten West football anymore. You're not playing Northwestern and Purdue and teams that you feel like, we could start our backup quarterback and feel like you should win. Maryland, when, UCLA this year for sure. So you've got, that means the stakes may not align with the talent, and that's unfortunate. That when you play Oregon and Penn State, and let's say USC on the road, and you go 7-5, the people are going to look at the 7-5, but they actually may be better than they've been since 2021 in my eyes. Yeah. I think they've played a lot better than they have last year, and probably a lot better than in 2023. Defensively, they were a little bit different, but certainly offensively, it's not even the same ballpark. But,
right. No,
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, big picture wise here?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And in fact, in the kind of the piece I posted, a reference that I posted this morning on Thursday morning at hawkcentral.com, the last section I wrote was about how will people view this season. We don't know how it's going to end, but Penn State is number 6 in the country. Oregon's number 2 in the country. You're going to USC. You don't do well in California anyway. Those are expected losses at this point. Now, not saying they can't win any of those, but they definitely could. They showed they could against Indiana. But if you lose just those 3, those are all tall tasks for their own reasons, you got to win the rest to go 7-5. So you got to win at Wisconsin. You got to beat Minnesota and Michigan State at home. And you got to win at Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's not going to be easy. I mean, they want to beat you bad. So, I do think even if Iowa is pretty decent, that 6-6, 7-5 is definitely in play here for sure. And I think people need to just sort of start thinking about that. And I'm thinking about that. And I'm thinking about the way you are right now, Scott, is I look at the team for what it is. The record is what they say. You say it is, obviously, or whatever. The record is what it is.
Yeah.
But I am in agreement that they're actually not playing that. They're not playing bad. They're playing pretty good. A couple, not excuses, but just haven't made the winning plays at the end. Deflection at Iowa State pops up in the air, and Gabe Burkle, right? There's that.
Yeah,
flag.
yeah, right. Yeah, Gabe Burkle from Iowa State.
An incredible play.
Yeah.
A winning play. I mean, they deserve to win.
Absolutely.
But, that ball falls incomplete. Maybe it goes the other way. The outcome.
Their kicker kicks a 54-yard field goal.
Yeah.
So you have that. And then you have what happened the other day. I mean, just teams like Iowa, even in good years and, other years, the margin of victory is very small, and you've got to make those winning plays. And if you don't, you're going to look back and again, when you have a schedule like this, and you've got, you're playing Oregon and not Northwestern, you're playing Penn State and not Maryland. The schedule lines up for you, and you're playing Indiana of 2025, not Indiana of 2020, or 2021 or something. 2021, you're playing these teams that are really, really good. Iowa State, 11-2 Iowa State from last year. They're undefeated.
They may not lose a game.
Yeah, I mean, they're a really good team. So that's a tough schedule. So in some ways, you judge the years differently, and I'm saying if they finish 7-5. Don't just look at it as 7-5. This team sucks. It's different than the 7-5 from last year. It's actually, I think this team is better than that. It's just kind of a victim of its circumstances. So, and I'm not saying they can't win some of these games. And maybe they do, and have a couple of memorable victories along the season. But if you really are kind of upset about where this team will head, and you just need to flush it. And if you're in the Iowa City area, the best place to call if you need to flush it is Acriman Plumbing. And it's time to discover how the plumbing industry can be when you choose a customer-first, independently owned and operated business like Acriman Plumbing. Acriman Plumbing services the Iowa City area, and we're thankful for their support here on Iowa Everywhere's Legends and Listeners in Instant Iowa. Acriman is only in the residential plumbing business, so your calls matter, and we always be answered in a timely manner. Whether it's for a plumbing emergency, routine service and maintenance, equipment replacement, or upgrades like tankless water heaters and water filtration systems, call Acriman. We love a business that's growing. Acriman is looking for another service tech to join their team. If that's you or you know someone, reach out to Acriman Plumbing. Shout out to the Acriman team of Corey, Stacy, Aaron, and Nathan, and all the rest. So visit Acriman-plumbing.com for 5-star residential plumbing services in the Iowa City region.
Got one more contest for you guys. Disney on Ice returns to Des Moines November 27th through 30th. There's the beautiful graphic on your screen right now with nine shows at the Casey Center.
Oh.
You can enter at iowaeverywhere.com now to win a 4-pack of tickets to see the magical adventure featuring Frozen and Encanto. Is that right? Did I say that right? The contest runs through Thursday, October 9th, so we got a little more time on that one. And we will pick 10 winners, and announce them live on, it'll be announced live on Two Guys. Why don't we ever get to announce these things? On Monday, October 13th. So there you go. Now, am I eligible to win and take my daughter, Aiden, or not? I'm not eligible. Probably not.
We'll talk later.
We'll talk later. Well, I wanted the concerts, the rap concerts that got canceled during the summer. I wanted those so bad. I was like, dang. Relive my teen years,
Anyway, Scott, the seeing Indiana in person, I felt like that was the type of win you got to get if you're going to make the playoff for Indiana.
Yeah.
And then watching the end of Oregon, Penn State, really nice win for Oregon. That's the team I picked to win the Big Ten. I know it's kind of an outlier there, but man, they look pretty good right now. They're number 2 in the country. And then, of course, Ohio State's out there, too. They beat Washington. That was a really impressive win the other day. So, I don't know. Where do you kind of rank these teams right now? I know we're still early, but, Penn State losing at home, they're in a little tougher spot all of a sudden because there's some really good teams here in the Big Ten above them all of a sudden. Yeah. Where do you rank these 4 teams? Those are the 4 best, right? Those 4 teams still? Yeah.
Yeah, and I would go... Ohio State and Oregon are kind of 1A, 1B. I think you're right on about Oregon, and I'll give you your respect that I'm starting to come to your line of thinking that Dan Lanning's the best coach in the Big Ten. And he hasn't lost a Big Ten regular season game yet.
Yeah, that's good.
And this is, kind of a quarter of the way through your 2, but going to Happy Valley for a night game where it's a fever pitch.
Yeah.
That
whiteout.
It's a whiteout. It's on NBC. It's they've got every reason to want to beat Oregon, which beat them for the Big Ten championship last year. So, and they're up 17-3 in control in the 4th quarter. Now, I'll give Drew Aller some respect for coming back, forcing overtime, scoring first in overtime. But then flip it around. It's a tough place to play. You're going against all that momentum. If you're Oregon and you're down a touchdown in overtime, it feels like, okay, maybe Penn State's going to pull this out. No, they did it. And then they forced a turnover. I think they have the most impressive win to me in the country is going to Happy Valley to winning. I am so impressed with Ohio State's defense because they lost their entire force up front to the NFL. And yet these guys are every bit as good. I mean, Caden Curry and Caden McDonald. Caden Curry had 3 sacks, 5 tackles for losses at defensive end. He had 11 tackles overall. And Washington has a tremendous trio of players. When you're talking about Denzel Boston at receiver, Jonah Coleman, and Damon Williams, and to hold them to 6 points, 2 field goals. That's on the road, and they had won 22 straight games at home. That's really impressive. So, Chad, I think there's like a tier system in the Big Ten, and there's 4 teams in the top tier. They're the same 4 that were there last year, but I would definitely go 1A, 1B, Ohio State, and Oregon. Mm-hmm. I would put Indiana just slightly behind them, and then I would go Penn State 4, and then after that, they lost though. They lost Illinois. I mean, Illinois had a really bad game, and this is where Iowa fits in. Yeah. I think Iowa's in that second tier. It's just their schedule. You compare their schedule to Nebraska's, and of course, Nebraska fans will come back and say, "Look at all of our schedules all these years," and you're like, True. "Okay, gotcha."
That's true. That's fair. That's fair.
Michigan's in that category. Illinois, Iowa, Washington, Minnesota. I would put Nebraska in that category. USC. So it's still kind of this mushy middle of the Big Ten. But I think, certainly those 4 teams have kind of separated themselves from me. I don't know. What do you think, Chad?
Yeah, that's exactly how I have them too. I mean, it's hard for me to decipher Oregon, Ohio State just yet. So I'm with you. Totally. I mean, I hate to not be arguing here. We should have a good segment here where we're debating, but I would put Indiana 3 as well. I'm super impressed with the Hoosiers. And the reason I bring up Penn State in particular is they got a tough stretch of games coming up. Now they get to go to UCLA this weekend, and they host Northwestern, so they're going to get back on their feet here, Scott. Yeah. Then here's the 3-game stretch for them after that. It's at Iowa, October 18th. Get a bye week at Ohio State, November 1st, and then home against Indiana. Good luck. Right. Good luck, Kirk Cignetti, on the third. Facing them, and Indiana could be playing to get into the playoff. I mean, let's say they lose at Oregon coming up. I mean, they're going to need that game desperately. And then, I will say Penn State still has to go to East Lansing too after all that. It's not necessarily a picnic. So I'm just saying Penn State all of a sudden with this home loss against a really great team, like they're on the ropes. James Franklin's on the ropes a little bit here. I don't know if can they go 9-3 and still make it? I don't know. There's a lot of good teams out there. Yeah, you're gonna marginalize yourself if you go 9-3, even with 3 good losses. It's gonna be tough.
Well, and then they're gonna get spanked by the committee for what they didn't do in the non-conference.
Fair, yeah,
and it's deserved. I mean, let's face it. Let's say that they lose 2 out of those 3 games.
Yeah,
they lose to the Buckeyes and take a pick. Indiana at home or Iowa on the road. Let's say Iowa on the road. Let's make it have a little joy here. Yeah. They lose at Iowa, and then they lose but then they beat Indiana. Then I went through the process, the mock draft, and I wrote about it. I think it appears today. But anyway, it described everything we go through when the selectors are lining these resumes up, and they're going to say, okay, who's your 1 win? Indiana. Okay, after that, crickets. UCLA, Northwestern. You're talking about Michigan State, Rutgers. How does that compare to the SEC 9-3 teams? And then they're going to say, okay, now look at the intent of the non-conference. And you're going to say, oh, you played, I don't even know who they played. They didn't, they played bad teams, not in non-conference. Florida International, and they didn't play a power conference team. That's something that they're going to, strength of schedule matters more. There's a stronger strength of schedule component this year. And so, they definitely would fall out at 9-3. Now 10-2, if they go and lose to Ohio State, they probably are in, but they might be the last team in, and it'll be like them versus Notre Dame. So
is Nevada, Florida International, and Villanova.
Right.
I mean, come on. And they only beat FIU 34-0. It's not that impressive. Yeah.
Right. And Indiana has that same issue too.
They do, but they did win.
But they blasted Illinois.
That's something.
And then they beat Iowa on the road. And if they, if they go 10-2, if they lose to Oregon and Penn State, they're going to get, I don't know, downgraded in the room as much, but there'll be people chirping for sure. But I think they lose at Oregon, and I think they have a better than average chance of beating Penn State. I mean, Penn State, and the thing is, if they go 9-3 and they end up in the Citrus Bowl or something, that fan base will be incensed, because this was supposed to be their year. James Franklin is 1-15, at Penn State against top 5 competition. Even more because Oregon was 6th. They're 2-18 against teams ranked in the top 6. And both of those wins were Ohio State on that block field goal in 16, and then Wisconsin, which was ranked 6th when they beat them for the Big Ten championship that year.
Right.
So you're going 9 years or whatever it is without beating somebody in the top 6. That's a hard way to live in Penn State, and especially this year when you got everybody there. And Drew Aller, in those 4 losses that they've had since last year, he's thrown 3 interceptions with the opportunity to win or tie the game. Yeah. And the other one was Ohio State, and they were stranded at the 1-yard line. So you're not getting it done in the clutch. So that's dying ain't kind of like Outlaw Josie Wales. Dying ain't much of a living, boy. That's kind of where they are right now.
All right, so the last thing before we go, let the people go here, Scott. What do we need to know? Because I'm going to lean on you here. What do we need to know about this private equity deal that ESPN was writing about today? I know you guys have written about it too at The Athletic. So give us the scoop on kind of what's going on there.
The news is that there really isn't much news.
Okay. Moving on. No, tell people what is going on, though.
Okay. ESPN reported that the Big Ten is investigating a $2 billion deal with a private equity firm that would basically give everybody, in the league, 9 figures up front, some sort of $100 million type of deal, and probably more for some schools, deservedly so, and then others. And that would tie them in. But then also that they would push their grant of rights through the year 2046. And right now it's through 36, I think, is the grant of rights. So those are the new things we learned today. However, I talked to 3 ADs, and my colleague Ralph Russo talked to several as well, who all came back and it's like, there's nothing new here. And I wrote a story in August that about private equity, that they're all very interested but not willing to take that jump, because they're not going to sell a piece off of the athletic department, because these are state agencies. You can't own part of the state of Iowa or Ohio or California, maybe California. But so the existential part of this is not there. They are a long way, is what I was told, from approving this. So the sticker shock of $2 billion and the grant of rights up to 2046 is the important thing to know. Otherwise, there's nothing there that hasn't already been really reported. It's just been reported in a different way, and I'm not dissing at all what they were able to do, because they're good. But I'm just saying that there wasn't much there beyond what I had already reported, for instance. Okay.
Well, when you see a headline like that about the Big Ten, figure we should talk about it on Legends and listeners. And I would say, so mostly nothing to see here, but we'll monitor as we go. Anything else on your list, Scott, before we let everyone go?
No, I think everybody should have a wonderful weekend. Go to your favorite apple orchard. Take the family pictures with the hashtag blessed under it. Even if your kids are crying and you can't wait to go home and watch football, and and your wife may be upset with you, but make sure to take those pictures of hashtag blessed this weekend and enjoy your time away. And we will be coming at you next week, Chad.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday.
Listeners on Iowa Everywhere from the Channel Seed Studios. We'll be previewing Iowa versus Wisconsin. Almost Nebraska. Iowa, Wisconsin. Get you the quarterback news, all that stuff. Talk to you next time.